What is this great conversation you're about to hear? Hello, everyone. This is W, host of the High Art on the Edge page. I'm an online event planner that supports artists' work from all over the world. They create the product. I help organize and execute a memorable event on social media for their fans, family members, and friends. In addition, I host surprise events where online friends and I examine an artist or band's work. Sometimes we're able to get special guests to join us and share a few tales of their own experiences. It's a rockin' good time. What do Kylie Minogue, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, Yotho Yindi, Midnight Oil, and Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds have in common? They come from the great country of Australia. Let us not forget about an incredibly talented band known as The Church. They've been releasing infectious music since 1981. You may be familiar with memorable tunes such as Unguarded Moment, Under the Milky Way, and Ripple. In this entertaining conversation, you will get a chance to hear church enthusiasts Maria Meredith, Matteo, Tremmel, and I discuss our endless appreciation for the band. We talk about thoughtful lyrics, quotes, concert experiences, merchandise, and even silver and gold metal tracks from their albums, starting with Of Skins and Heart all the way up to Magician Among the Spirits. So, grab yourself a drink, have a seat, sit back, and enjoy our discussion as we shine a big and mighty spotlight on these Aussie rockers and the impact they've had on our music experience over the years. As my co-hosts declared, they are sultry, psychedelic, and pop. Time to go further and deeper. Hello, everyone. This is W, aka William, host of the High Art on the Edge page. Welcome to surprise event number 20, and we've got a dandy for you. We're heading all the way to Australia to celebrate and honor great rockers, The Church. Of course, I'm going to have to do that with some co-hosts as we're going to shine a spotlight on half of their work. And we're going to be talking about some of our silver medal and gold medal tracks. Without further ado, I want to bring in Matteo and Maria. Hello, Matteo. Hello, Maria. How are you doing?
Excellent. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to this event. We have been talking about this for a while, and we have arrived. So thank you so much for wanting to participate. Matteo and Maria, I'm going to ask you two questions. Here's my first question. In 2 words, since we are picking 2 songs from each one of their albums, how would you describe The Church? Let's start with you, Matteo.
Well, first thing I think of when you say 2 words is like, how do you try to provide a genre with them or for them? To me, it's psychedelic pop.
Conversation. Maria, longtime fan of The Church. How would you describe them in 2 words?
Sultry allure.
Not more. And then Matteo and Maria, when and how did The Church enter into your music life?
It's interesting. So being in the U.S. And being of that age, around teenager age, it was MTV 120 minutes, I'm sure, which aired like really late at night, like 11:30 midnight, for a couple hours. And it was certainly Under the Milky Way. The video was striking. The song was striking. And somewhere in between, Reptile started to be played as well. So I'm not sure if I got Starfish before or after the Reptile single started to be an earworm as well. And then from there, it was Hindsight, and then back into the catalog through there. That's how I discovered them. And the interesting thing is, and I was thinking of other words like journey was one of the other words I was going to choose, because they take you on a journey. And there's been many times over the last 3 decades where it's been 4 decades now, where they have worked with artists and other bands that I am super fans of. So I think that's the interesting thing is I'll go away and miss an album here or there, and then something comes around and pulls me back in. It's just remarkable how many coincidences there are with other music genres that I like, not even necessarily the same as the church.
Thank you for sharing. Maria, when did they enter your life?
It was 1986. I was 20 years old, and they opened for my favorite band, Echo and the Bunnymen. The very first time I saw Echo and the Bunnymen, it was at a college auditorium in Philadelphia, University of Pennsylvania, and doing my research, when I saw that they were opening, I would always want to try to find something from that band. And so it was the Heyday album that they were promoting on that tour, and I just fell in love with it. And they were, cute guys, and Australia. So I actually have. You told us to bring some memorabilia. I have a scrapbook of everything I've collected from the 80s, and this is the review of that show. Nice. Bunnyman Hop at Penn, and it mentions the church. It said it opened up with a show with a set that probably earned them some new fans, and that's what happened.
For me, it was the gorgeous jingle, shimmery sound of that, reminiscent of the Byrds, and obviously with some boot stomping, rock and licks there. But yeah, I will say it was Starfish, and then kind of worked my way backwards. And I used to cut school all the time, particularly on Fridays. And I would drive up to the city, and I'd have these tapes in my little red Rocket Subaru. And I used to listen to Blurred Crusade and Heyday nonstop. And I never even worried about what I was missing at school, because I know I was gaining something just being alone in San Francisco with their music. So that was kind of my entryway. And okay, so here's what we're going to do. Because they have such a vast catalog, we're going to talk about our silver medal tracks and our gold medal tracks. And these are just opinions. And if you have anything else to say about the track lyrically or how it affects you, go for it. Maybe you've seen him perform it live, whatever you want to say. But before we do that, I want to give both of you some context. We're going to go all the way back to the beginning with Of Skins and Heart. 1981. Okay. Here's some albums that came out in 1981. We have a little known band called The Cure, Faith. We have some ladies known as the Go-Go's, Beauty and the Beat. And of course, we have an Echo and the Bunnymen album, Heaven Up Here. So, and then we have many more albums that came out that were very seminal at the time. So we get this album Of Skins and Heart, the introductory album, produced by Chris Gilby and Bob Clearmountain. It's a stellar debut, a lot to offer. And I loved how it kind of obviously was a table setter in terms of the mysticism, the musicianship, the songwriting, their live performances. Yeah. Maria, we're going to start with you.
Okay. My silver medal is Memories in Future Tense. And I'll share my favorite lyric. Your energy, what's it? You close your energy. You close your eyes. The moon starts to rise, and you scream for me. Their lyrics are just so poetic and intense. Yeah. But yeah, that's my silver medal one.
Great, Matteo.
So I did it a little differently. And so my silver medal, let me just tell you, is Tear It All Away.
Nice.
Yeah. But again, so coming from hindsight, it was really, this is on hindsight. So I have the double CD. I think I have it here. Hard to find because it was an import.
Yep.
But so this, to me, this was on this record until later. I'm like, oh no, wait, it was actually on their first record. So I would say it's Tear It All Away. Yeah.
I had to go with Bel Air. And I picked that track because I love the tempo, I love the mood, I love the punch. You get kind of the early seeds of what they're capable of doing as musicians. And I don't know. I don't sit in the church group chats and all that all so much, but I just feel like that's a song that doesn't get talked about often. And yeah, so I went with that one. Okay. We're going to go gold medal. Maria, what is your favorite track from Of Skins and Heart?
I kind of had to go for the hit, the Unguarded Moment. It's just, I don't know, just jangle pop at its best. Tell those friends with cameras for eyes. I just love all those little digs. It's so
Well, it is, and I also thank you for sharing that. And it's obviously a great pick and really highly regarded. But I mean, how many people that listen to church have probably sat in a mirror and kind of did exactly what you did? Matteo, you agree?
I think this is going to be unanimous. I just that, and so like when I heard that song, it's the first song in hindsight, right? So it's the first song after Starfish for me. And it's like, wow, wait a minute. Like if this was released at the same time as Starfish or like a year ago or whatever, that would have been the intro. Like, why wasn't that the intro to the US? And maybe it was because I was a lot younger. So I wouldn't have been listening to music probably on my own. I would have been in cars with my sisters or my parents kind of thing. So yeah, definitely to me, it's like, that's where the two words I chose were psychedelic and pop. There is definitely, as sprawling as some of their songs are, 9 minutes, 10 minutes, you know, that kind of a jam kind of a band. They have this top line melody that they create in their singles where they're a pop band, right? And they probably would cringe, right, if you said that, but it's undeniable. Even on some of their weirdest records, there's always that one or two song that could be a hot single. And you see it, their compilations, like the first couple they've had like 3 or 4 now, but it's like, man, hit after hit. These songs could have all been hit singles, right?
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'm going to disagree with the two of you as far as my pick. I mean, it's a great song, absolutely. But I had to pick Is This Where You Live? Is This Where You Live? And the reason why I picked this song is because it gives you the snapshot of what's to come with their longer tracks. It kind of is in a 3-part arrangement. And what I love about this song is that I feel as though, and Matteo, you touched on this earlier, it takes you on an adventure, it takes you on a ride. And I love that the fact that they did this on their first debut album. And there are some moments in there just absolutely jaw-dropping gorgeous. And I wanted to read something to you too, and maybe you've heard of this. This was a review that came out in 81 by an Australian magazine. And it says, the best moments of Skins and Heart are the shorter, more up-tempo pop numbers. So going back to your points, both of you. For a Moment We're Strangers, in the appealing vein of the Unguarded Moment, while Chrome Injury, Memories in the Future Tense, and Fighter Pilot are more complex, hard-edged. This, She Never Said, which is an instrumental simplicity and lyrical directness, places it's in marked contrast to the other tracks. This song is the closest the church come to dance music. All right, so we touched on the very first album of Skins and Heart, and now we're going to transition into my t-shirt, and that is The Blurred Crusade. Came out in 1982. Again, I want to give both of you some context of what was also released that year. We had Brian Eno, Ambient 4, Talk, The Party's Over, and Van Halen, Diver down, plus a whole slew of others. So, so this is when I was starting to do my homework, and I feel like I've memorized this album note for note, song for song. But again, going back and listening to it, you just pick up these little gems and nuggets. This was 1982, had all the members, Steve Kilby, Peter Koppes, Marty Wilson Piper, and of course, Richard Ploug. Sensational percussion drumming work. Produced by Bob Clearmountain. Matteo, what is your silver medal track from the Blurred Crusade album?
Oh yeah. So these two songs that I'm going to pick for this album, they distill the essence of the church in many ways to me. We can talk about them, but I'll give you the silver first, which is It's to Be in Your Eyes. I just think it's probably the most conventional and accessible song lyrically and musically ever wrote. At least when I was discovering them in the end of the 80s, for sure.
Maria, what is your silver medal?
Mine is Field of Mars. It's a long way home from Field of Mars, distant, beneath the platinum stars. I always like these poetic imagery lyrics, glistening, glittering platinum stars. So that's my pick. I'm just, as you were saying, William, the context of 1982. I have this scrapbook with me right now, and I have a record from 1981 all the way to 1989 I used to write down like top 10s and song lyrics and everything was happening, and like the number one song of 82, just like pop US, Eye of the Tiger.
Oh,
throwing that out there.
Of course. I actually think Field of Mars, thank you for sharing your silver medal. I think that's a great pick. There's such atmosphere on that track. Yes. Tremendous atmosphere. Yeah. And like you, Maria, when I was going back and retracing my steps, I've always known this to be true, but it just kind of reaffirmed it, is that how many of the songs I love when Marty sings.
Yes.
Yeah. So it adds that nice contrast. All right. I'm going to have to go silver medal track, and that is Almost With You. So Matteo, I think you said this about Unguarded Moment. Mm-hmm. No matter what kind of mood you're in, you put it on, you're going to listen to it. And that's how I feel about this track. Yes, it's a very popular song by theirs. I don't care, really. It's a phenomenal pop song. It's so well crafted. And I feel as though over time, that song has aged beautifully. And when I've seen them perform it many times, it's just something that kind of what I like to call PPP, pure pop perfection. Okay. Now, maybe this wasn't so hard. Maybe it was. I'm not sure. Matteo, you're hoisting that gold medal.
Yeah. So it's funny because I'm curious what Maria picks for her gold, because I think you picked Almost With You because you didn't pick the other song on the last album that we both picked, because I think they're sisters, right? I think Unguarded Moment and Almost With You is Steve at his pop perfection, right? And I would say that the second song that I picked is where To Be in Your Eyes is very direct, very romantic side of Steve's lyrics, and very conventional pop song. You Took is my gold medal winner because it's that sprawling. It's kind of like their gold pick on the last one, right? Which is the longer, jammier kind of. It's an 8-minute masterpiece. It builds gradually. Each instrument is introduced one by one, starting with the bass, and the bass is actually playing some harmonics, which is unique and different. Then the drums come in, right? And then you start with a blank canvas, and they're adding color as they go. And this intro goes for over 2 minutes and 15 seconds. So it's this massive thing. And then all of a sudden there's nothing, and he's a cappella saying, "You took a piece of my heart." And then they reintroduce the instruments, you know, in the second sort of like act, you could say, of the song. It's just, I've seen them play it live. I've seen them do it not so long ago, actually, on one of the California radio, you know, where they do the video captures, like a KP, what is it, KEXP or whatever. They pulled that out of the cobwebs, and it was as fantastic as it ever was. It's incredible.
Awesome pick. I concur with everything that you just said. Maria.
Matt, I love that phrase you just used, the environments that they create, you know, and all the imagery of their lyrics. They always are throwing in these like obscure places or words, and you just have to like you're like, what? That makes it so interesting for me. Anyway, my gold is To Be in Your Eyes.
Wow.
Because it's so romantic, and you know, I'm lying there listening, the raindrops are glistening, you know. Yeah, so
that's fair.
I'm gonna have to strike gold with You Took. That is my numero uno. When I saw them play that live for the gold for the first time on the Gold Afternoon Fix tour, they played in San Francisco at the Warfield. I'd listened to that song many times before, but when I saw them play it live, it took it to a whole nother platform and level. It's what I said earlier about from the Of Skins and Heart track. It's that big canvas. It's that moment where I feel as though I'm not sure where they're going, but I'm going to go with them into the heart of all that sound and noise and beauty and melody. And like you, Matteo, I love the fact that it hits that moment where it just everything comes to that standstill, and you're waiting for Kilby's voice to just kind of buzz in. And yeah, it's pretty epic, Crusade. Okay, let's keep climbing the ladder. We're going to go to 1983. This is the Seance album. And this is the album I feel gets, if people were to pick up darts and start hurling them at the church, this would be the album. People are so divisive. They're so, what the hell happened? You brought us to this moment, and now you've gone electro on it. To give you context, we had Aztec Camera, Highland, Hard Rain that came out in 1983. We had The Police and their monster hit album, Synchronicity. And then we had Tears for Fears, which, I got to plug this in real quickly, the Ocean Blue did a song. It was their last song from the Hurting album. Mm-hmm. So lots of great albums came out in 1983. Seance was there. Synthy, odd string arrangements, interesting lyrics, a cover that has different colors to the cover depending on which version you got. So, Maria, what is your silver medal track from Seance?
I'm going to say Disappear. Question mark.
Yeah, why did you pick that one?
Again, I kind of liked almost every church song I like lyrics, but you know, finding the emptiness where you lay. There's like beach imagery and stuff like that, and just I don't know. It's just yeah. I just like that kind of stuff. So.
Matteo, what is your silver medal?
I got to tap out of this album. The only ones that I really know were on Hindsight. I have listened to the album, but it's you know, most of the songs were written except for one, I believe, by Steve. And I wonder if he just got his hands on like a 4-track recorder and he, you know, basically created the album without, you know, but I'll tap out on this one. I'll let you guys talk about it.
So for me, my silver medal track goes something like this. Like a womb, the night was all around. Someone somewhere must have talked some sense. I could feel it moving underground. So many things I still don't understand. The dream I was having took on an ugly face. I don't know if I was walking through heaven. Of course, I'm talking about Disappear. What a beautiful track, gorgeous track. And I feel as though that's a song they can carry with them and do it in a live performance. And I would never feel like, oh, yeah, that came from the Seance album. I almost feel like it would have fit beautifully on the Blurred Crusade or a subsequent album. And check out the video if you can. But yeah, great song. And I don't poo-poo that album as much as maybe as other people. I think it has some really good stuff on there. Would I love for them to go back and maybe re-record it? Sure, that's never going to happen, so that's okay. Okay, Maria, what is your gold medal track?
I've always been a fan. Electric Lash.
Yeah.
I just kind of like the way he said, like Electric Lash. I don't know. It's just like that's kind of like the sultry thing. I don't know. Like the way he sings on that one is just kind of like almost like a secret. I don't know, like subdued vocals.
Yes. So I would agree with you, and minus the artificial drum beat. I mean, that goes back to my earlier point of the PPP, the pure pop perfection. And for my gold medal, that is Electric Lash, without a doubt. You can go on to YouTube. There's an early recording of that, a live recording. It's breathtaking, and the quality is pretty darn good. And you want that birds jingle jangle sound, you got it. You've got the great phrasing by Kilby, wonderful. The video, it's a complete 80s video, but kind of like those other short pop songs that they do, it just sparkles. So yeah, I had to pick that one. And they also do an acoustic version later on their acoustic albums. That's just as beautiful. All right, so we leave the electro sound of Seance, and we're going to slide right into what many consider possibly their masterpiece. That's always up for debate. We're going to go to a fan favorite, and this is Heyday, where I think a lot of people started to really appreciate what they were all about. This was 1985. Maria, 1985, let me give you some context of albums that came out. We had another band from Australia release an album called Listen Like Thieves. That was In Excess. We had Sonic Youth and all of their noise, Bad Moon Rising. And then we had a nice little band called the Talking Heads, and they released Little Creatures. So lots of great music coming out in 1985. Maria, we hit Heyday. I know how much you love this album. This must have been an easy task for you, or it must have been brutal.
No, because I love every single track. So this was actually hard.
All right. So what is your silver medal track from the album Heyday?
Disenchanted. I like the chorus. They say that character. I don't know. But like I said, so many songs, or just like the guitars, just the lyrics, the harmonies. Let me just share a quick, funny. This is my scrapbook again. This was from Smash Hits magazine in England.
Oh, look at that!
This is the Heyday, and it's so funny. They're trying to be pegged as like pop stars since they're like good looking. So it says, A Buddhist in a church? That's Steve Kilby, lead singer of the church. He's serious about it too. Yoga, meditation, the whole shebang. And while their songs ain't Eastern manifestos, they have more than a trace of cosmic. And then it tells the cover where they're all in the paisley. Fun fact: they all showed up wearing white shirts for that photo shoot, but that looked awful. Anyway, that's
nice.
That's there. That's kind of funny.
Awesome. I love how you're pulling this stuff into the conversation. Good stuff. Okay, Matteo, what is your silver medal track?
All right, I'm gonna go left field on this album because there's some obvious choices. I, like Maria, love this album, and I didn't find it for a long time. I went through Hindsight, then to Blurred Crusade, which is top 5 albums for me is Blurred Crusade. But this one, when I found this one, I was like, wow, this, I was listening to Listen Like Thieves and that year, and I knew nothing about the church at that time. But man, talk about quality. I'm gonna say As You Will, which is Peter Kappas, and that was the first. I have a number of bands where I love the fact that they have multiple singer-songwriters, and the church is one of those. So, I was like, that doesn't quite sound like the lead singer, right? But then you figure it out later. But As You Will is classic Peter Kappas. If you got any of his solo works, he's got a mood to his work for sure.
That's a great pick, and I'm glad you're throwing some love his way. This was hard for me. This was really hard. So silver medal track, I'm going to have to hand this award off to this song. They say that character you play is rising fast, so you get drunk, make a half-second jump, and experience is as the past. It has to be Disenchanted. Again, it goes back to the pure pop perfection. And I feel as though with this album, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like now we're getting into vocal harmonies and all of them kind of working together. And I feel like this song brings that out along with other songs. And man, Marty's guitar work, so beautiful, so shimmery. And I don't think I've ever seen them play this song live, and I would go bananas if they did. Yeah. Maria, what is your gold medal track?
This was hard. I'm gonna have to go with Tristesse, and I think that's one of the songs I had Marty play when he did our festival thing. So, and so I hope I don't know where the arc. I know that's somewhere. I want it to be saved, but him playing that just on acoustic, also with his wife, that was really cool. That he played that.
It's a remarkable song.
Just the name alone, like all the names of in this, it is like so like the names of the titles of these songs in this whole album. Tristesse. But yeah.
Great pick, Matteo.
Okay, one of my 2 all-time favorite instrumentals. They have several over their albums, but it takes you on a walk through some forest. I can just visualize the whole thing as Happy Hunting Ground. I just think it's incredible. And there's obvious other choices, but for gold medal, but to me that was like, whoa! I like stopped what I was doing and sat down and just sat there and sat in it. They do it also on their symphony album when they do the psychedelic symphony in Sydney, and with a full orchestra. It's just majestic.
Yeah.
So Steve Sutherland, who is a writer for Melody Maker, wrote about, once dazed and a little dangerous, the church teetered on the edge just enough to report back to base with an astonished perspective. Nowadays, they've come adrift from their dreams, and their prevalent attitude seems premeditated. The tubercular poetry that filtered Beautiful Damage through Blurred Crusade is now a role rather than a vocation. Heyday, for all its melodic sparkle, is basically secondhand emotion, and all its songs are rewrites. It lacks the stoned arrogance of the stirring successors. So there you go. You never know how people are going to interpret these things. All right, my number one pick, my gold medal. Tantalized.
It's a good one.
How many adjectives can you come up with? It is ferocious. It is absolutely ferocious. It's a beast. It's a juggernaut. It is muscular. It is all male testosterone just driving the engines of that sound. And again, this is another thing we've talked about. It seems to be one of the motifs in our conversation. When you see them perform the song live, it elevates the song even to a higher level. And you kind of have your jaw open and go, what am I watching? What is this? This is truly astonishing. So go ahead.
It's often their first song of the set. A lot of times it's been the first song.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. And I remember once I was late for one of their concerts and I missed it. And I was so mad.
What an album. Okay, we're going to move on to all the way to 1988. A great year in music. And let me give you some context of some albums that I'm sure many of us have enjoyed over time. Of course, we're going to start with Postsmiths, and that is Morrissey's Viva Hate. Great album. We're going to go with one of my favorite bands that I'm going to do a tribute to in the March. Of course, we're talking about the Pogues, If I Should Fall from the Grace with God. And then we had a little album by an industrial rock band, if you will. This is The Land of Rape and Honey, talking about Ministry. Oh, God, so many great albums. Susie and the Banshees, Peep Show. But we're not here to talk about those albums. We're here to talk about their monster smash album, that is Starfish. Again, another album that many hail as a masterpiece of their opus. Hard to disagree with. So, Maria, what is your silver medal track from this very, very well done album?
Yes, I'll start by saying 1988 was the year I graduated from college. And I was so happy for that when they had the hit, you know, the Under the Milky Way. I was like, I knew about this band already. Here's my ticket stub from the tour.
Nice.
They played the Tower Theater. They moved up on the, this was the biggest place they ever played, I think, in Philly. And I, as Stephen Kilby was coming in to the Tower Theater, I caught a picture of him. But anyway, my silver is a Hotel Room.
Great choice.
Yes. What is it about that song that speaks to you?
It's just, I like the image, like, they're on tour and it is, I guess their hotel is kind of like your little room. I feel I'm safe in my hotel room, it's a wonderful room. I just like the overall feel of the song and the lyrics.
Great. Matteo, what is your silver medal?
This album is one song to me, so I can't cheat like that. But my bronze, I'll tell you, my bronze is Under the Milky Way. So that goes to show you, and I adore that song. All three of the songs that are my top three, I've learned to play on acoustic guitar, and I played it live with people and solo. I have a couple things to show. So that's when I got into the church, and this was a radio. They did a really good job in the States of with that number one hit single. So this was the first place that we found the acoustic versions of Under Milky Way, Antenna, and Spark. And having those stripped down versions was so great because they were masters in the studio, right? I also have the promos for Destination, for Reptile,
Nice.
They have
Oh.
rock versions of them, which are interesting because they're just a little bit different. And then they had these crazy little 3-inch CDs, which has Tantalized on the back, as well as the acoustic version of Under Milky Way for Destination. And then the single Under the Milky Way, the 5-inch single with Musk and Warm Spell. So this obviously you can tell I was trying to find anything around the Starfish Sessions was just pure gold for me. But I'm going to throw some love to the other masterful guitar player, and Spark is my silver medal winner for so many reasons. The chording in it, the words, as Maria has often mentioned, right? It's just the sound of the words, the meaning of the words that they choose. And I really think, as you said earlier, Heyday was really them coming together as a 4-piece. This was just that extension of everything we learned from Heyday. We just hit it on the head, and it was just the most perfect culmination of the 4 of them, those specific 4 members.
And my silver medal track is Antenna.
Mm-hmm.
The chorus is so sweeping. It's so full. It feels very confident to me. It feels very alive. And I think I could be wrong. It has that 3/4 time signature, has that waltzy kind of feel to it.
Yes.
But it's a beautiful song, and it just builds and builds and builds to that big, epic, sweeping chorus. So, yeah, I had to go with Antenna.
This is so American. I mean, this is him experiencing America, recording in LA for the first time, right?
Yeah,
for this album. And he has a line there where wear a gun and be proud, but bare breasts aren't allowed. And that is so the difference between the United States and Europe and Australia, etc., where I thought it used to say wear a gun in a crowd, but bare breasts aren't allowed. And to me, that's like, but it's actually and be proud, and that sums up our politics in the day to this
and
day.
I think you're right. They did record this in LA. They were in the heart of LA, living in some like kind of apartment near Hollywood or something like that.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Ooh, I cannot wait. Maria, before you announce the gold medal, Matteo, I want you to guess Maria's gold medal track.
Well, she's thrown out some curveballs too. So, and so it would be like the easy answer is Under the Milky Way, but she picked Hotel Room, which is to be her second choice just makes me know that we're going to be friends for a very long time. But you're a romantic too, so I can see they're Under the Milky Way or Lost, something like that. I just think those are some amazing songs on there.
Maria, I'm going to pick for you what I think is your gold medal track. I think it's Reptile.
Good choice. But no. Just the other lyric that I liked, you had mentioned that the north, south, east, and west. The face of today is just a scalpel away.
Yes, that's LA. The whole song is
right.
LA.
The whole thing is LA. Yeah. My top pick is Antenna.
Wow.
Oh!
For all the same reasons as that guitar and just it builds up, and although that was very hard because I really do adore Under the Milky Way, even though it is the ubiquitous song, but and Tandala, what we saying, Reptile and and Spark, they're both favorites also. But
I always liked too how Spark led into Antenna on the record.
Yes.
You have this. It was perfect sequencing.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Thank you for bringing that up. It's Matteo's turn, and Maria, what is his numero uno blue ribbon gold medal track?
From Starfish. Hmm. He had mentioned Peter Kappas. I don't know, maybe a new season.
You know,
Oh.
it could be any one of them. It depends on the
Right.
day and the year. But
Yeah.
but to me, it's the perfect example of when a song is just great, because whether it's stripped down on Steve's acoustic and intimate CD, which I think he did in like a hotel solo on acoustic guitar, or with the whole ornamentation by the band, there's a different power, but it's still, there's no mistake. It has power, with lines like "a sudden voltage in the night with the rainforest girl as we float downstream to the Amazon River where the black waters swirl. Why are these people wearing these masks? Can we be reconciled? She
I
says
knew it.
of the storm has to roam the sky searching for her child." It's like blew my mind. I even found Steve Kilbey, and I think it was in 2006. They were coming through Detroit, and we were walking in, and they were behind the venue. And I said, "This song, yeah, it sounds like it's drug reference songs. I could possibly no reflection or reference in my life, and yet I learned how to play it. I play it all the time on acoustic guitar, and I just adore it. I don't have to understand it. I just feel it."
The fact that you talking about him being such a good storyteller, like a lot of times live in concert. The last time I saw them was for the Hypnagogue tour this year, and he rattled on this 10-minute story as an intro to one of the songs on that album about being on the beach on New Year's Eve. So I don't know, this whole big thing, and then he says, did any of that actually happen? No. Like after like a 10-minute.
He drags you all the way there and he just drops you off. All right, Maria, what is my numero uno?
I'm gonna say, so you're okay. I might say for you a new season. I don't know.
It's a beautiful track. Absolutely gorgeous track. And that I have seen them play live. So great
Me
pick.
too. Yeah.
Matteo, what is my gold medal?
Oh boy. Well, I'm gonna say sometimes with affinity bias, you gave Reptile to Maria, so I'm gonna pick it for you.
All right. I think this has to be within their top 5 songs of all time. I say, why are those buildings swaying like trees? I say, can we stop for a while? She says, can't you hear the city that's hidden in there? It's just another mile.
Another mile.
How do you describe Hotel Womb? The intro is perfect. The outro is perfect. That middle 8 takes you on that wild frickin' river ride. There's great mysticism there. I love the ambiguity. I love the fact that it's. I've seen them play this live. I've seen Steve perform this live, just in a solo manner. I don't know. I think it's one of those songs that there's no other. It sounds like no other band to me,
Yeah.
and it's just
Everything about the intro, how it just meanders in, and then that frenetic psychedelic, middle where Marty's, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. It's one of my top 5 for sure, church songs as well.
And if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to look here. It's one of the greatest closing tracks on an album. So there you go. If you're into closing tracks, so Hotel Womb, that would be from the album Starfish. We're going to ditch 1988. We're going to actually head over to 1990. And I've been actually, when I was going back and doing my homework, I was thinking, I wonder what Maria's thinking about this album. I wonder what Mateo's going to put. And we all know this album was kind of a big hit for them, particularly in Metropolis, and had that really interesting album cover that we know who didn't really love so much. But I think it's got some wonderful tracks on here. Has it aged a bit? Yeah, I think it's aged a bit. But let's move on to 1990. Of course, we're talking about Gold Afternoon Fix. Here are some albums that came out in 1990. We had Pet Shop Boys, Behavior. We had one of my favorite Pixies album, Bossa Nova.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had Dreamy Sounds of the Cocteau Twins, Heaven or Las Vegas. So, and of course, Ride, and then Tribe Called Quest. So many great albums. Okay.
Charlatan.
Maria, what is your silver medal track for Gold Afternoon Fix?
So before for this album, I saw them at a club in Philadelphia, and I somehow scored a backstage pass. It was from this. This was the same year that Marty Was a Piper did his solo. It did Rhyme, I believe, and this promoter from Ryko Disc. I don't forget how I met him. He might have had a little bit of a crush on me. I don't know, but he gave me my first CD, and it was the Questions Without Answers single CD from Marty Wilson Piper. And anyway, he's the one that gave me the backstage pass, and we hung out with him. And here we are with Marty Wilson Piper.
Wow,
very nice.
So, backstage,
very nice.
The woman has a bottle of whiskey or something, just drinking my out of it. Anyway, that was a wild. We were back there for like at least an hour, and that's also when Marty Was a Piper told me about the band the Charlatans UK. That was his favorite new band, and I had not heard of them because that was their first album. Some Friendly came out, and he said, "If I have some advice, check out the Charlatans UK." My silver song, it would be "You're Still Beautiful."
Nice.
You're still beautiful, baby.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a little different. Their songs are so varied, but it's just the theme of it. It's just kind of funny that they're talking about this woman that's that they're all making fun of her. I don't know. It's like I don't know the context of this, but they're like trying to be, I guess, kind of nice, but it's not really. It's still kind of like cutting anyway. I don't know. You don't really know if they're being like sarcastic or not, but
yeah, interesting that you picked that. And I'm not saying that's a bad pick at all. I feel like that's a song that kind of gets lost in the discussion. So good pick. Matteo, what is your silver medal?
I am going to tap out of this album. Mama always told me never to say anything bad if you don't have anything to say. I do agree that there was a good album in there, but I just feel like they just felt like excessiveness. I like the next album because they left LA. This is when they lost Richard, and to me that really harmed. I agree with Marty's assessment of this album. Snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. Like that's what he says about GAF. But I do think like there's some good songs there, but without that heart and soul of Richard Plug, I just don't think it. I'll just go to gold, which is it's the single. I just thought the single was great pop, but I did miss the drumming because I think you can tell. I think that's why it aged. I think when we played these songs or they played these songs live, I think we've gotten some much better tracks. And even the demos, I have the demos. I don't know how they were released, but they sound better. they lost the heart and soul in that, which is interesting because it was half of the production crew from Starfish. So you would have thought, right? It made sense, like they were going to catch lightning in a bottle twice, and yet I think there were a lot of things going on behind the scenes that just they couldn't bring it.
This was the first album that I really started to appreciate their first songs and how good their first songs can be, particularly when we get these later albums. So Pharaoh is my silver medal track. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Richard Plug did play drums on that.
Yep.
Okay. Which is maybe why another reason why I love it. It's got that tension. It's got that buildup that I love. It's got the misspelling on the album. But it is a great intro, kickoff, leadoff song. So I'm going with Pharaoh. And I don't think I've ever seen them play that live, maybe other than that tour, but I don't remember it. So
gotta go with Russian Autumn Heart, Marty Wilson Piper singing.
Marty Wilson Piper again.
Russian Autumn Heart. I just like I like the energy of it, and just it does sound like it could be on one of his. It sounds like it could actually have been on Rhyme. His solo album.
I'm going to have to go with Don't Come to Pieces in My Hand, White Stars Reflecting Dust and Sand. That perfume makes me think of grief. Shake the faith, shake the belief. And of course, I'm talking about Fading Away. It kind of reminds me of Almost With You a little bit. It reminds me of just that song where you could have it on your headphones and you kind of just match your foot movement to the beat and to the rhythm and the tempo of that song. I love Kilby's vocals on that track. And I love it's just a very standard pop song, but it's got a mood to it. So that is my favorite track, Fading Away. Well, we're going to jump out of 1990. We're going to head on over to what many consider maybe the best year in music. 1992. Nick Cave. Ooh, Henry's Dream. We have, do you remember the artist Nana Cherry? Homebrew came out in 1992. We had the Lemonheads, It's a Shame About Ray, which a lot of people love. And we had the Little Bee Girl, Blind Melon, Blind Melon.
Oh, yeah.
This album called Priest Equals Aura. Again, what many consider to be their masterpiece. Always subjective, always up for debate. And this is the album I feel that really, they just went for it and went deep and pulled together all of their talents. And I can't wait to hear what your silver medal track is. We're going to start with Maria. Priest Equals Aura. What is your silver medal?
It is Ripple.
Oh, nice.
A little, slow. I mean, most of the things on here are. Yeah. What was my favorite? I wrote the favorite lyric on here about it might not be Eden or summer in Greece. You may not even find the gold fleece in the drag of this atmosphere. Now I don't want to bring up a delicate matter.
Was that a single? Was Ripple
that was the lead single.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for me, that is also my silver medal winner.
Oh,
different lyrics. I never even knew what he was saying, but buckle like a wreck in a cold green sea. That just the sound of those syllables. I couldn't decipher it. Like you were a ripple in my memory, I could hear that part. Another little glitch in continuity, but that flow that was such a great wordplay by him. But I just love Marty's guitar chords. Those first 4 chords are just so ringy. And that's what brought me back, because Gold Afternoon Fix threw me out, except for the single. I didn't like Terra Nova Can. I didn't think You're Still Beautiful. You're Still Beautiful probably would have been a silver for me. But I just really couldn't get my head around like grind and things like that. So there were a lot of tracks on there where I was like, this is just, it doesn't have the soul of the band. And so when I heard Priest Equal Aura, I was like, there they are. They're back, or I'm back, or we're back together again, right? We broke up and now we're back together. There were so many good songs on this album. It's a top 5 album with Starfish and Blurred Crusade for me. I just adore it. It's great.
I wrote in my description of this album, cerebral, druggy, and a moody fucker.
It's dark.
So
it's dark.
Yeah, it is. My silver medal track is "And Kings Will Come, Years Will Pass, Stars Burn Cold Beneath the Glass." And of course, I'm talking about Kings.
Wow.
That song, to me, I'll never get tired of it. That I always feel like that's kind of their, and I say this a lot about bands, and this is no put down in any way. It's kind of their U2 moment. I feel like that's their big, and I don't know if they even play this song often, but I think that's their big communal sing-along song. And when all of them sing together, it's goosebumping.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm putting Kings, and going back to what both of you have talked about time and time again. Phenomenal lyrics. It's like, man, where does he come up with this stuff? What was he on at the time? It's beautiful stuff. So Maria, what is your gold medal track from this album?
It is Kings.
Oh!
For all the same reasons. And even the lyric that you had mentioned is the same lyric I was going to mention. So,
all righty, Matteo, the time has come.
This is really tough for me because I love a ton of these songs, and I listen to this album when I go on airplanes and I'm taking off. I always want to take off to Ripple, but I always want to listen to Aura because it takes you on a journey. Again, what's going on? Did it really happen? Right? Or was it just a dream? That's kind of that lyric. There's so many lyrics on there that are just so clever. It's Steve at his peak when he talks about, we raked old Poseidon over the coals, shook his shells, shaked his shoals. I'm like, that is just beautiful poetry.
That is a beautiful pick. And let's not forget, it's an opening first track. So for me, this was brutal, absolutely brutal. I hated this, but I think they did 2 nights in a row in the Bay Area in Palo Alto, and I took my buddy to go see them. This was late 90s, and they opened up with this song. And this is when I truly fell in love with it. And of course, we're talking about, they captured the 3 of us, took us back to their village after a long time. I could decipher their language. They worship Baal, they worship the sun, they worship the son of the evil one. That is Aura. That is my favorite track and one of my all-time favorites by them. And I know I keep harping on this, but it's I just love that it's an opening track. It's 7 minutes. I think it's 7 minutes long. And that bass line is astounding. All the musicianship, the quality of it. And like you said, Matteo, the lyrics are just so good. What a story.
I wonder, there's, the end where he goes pot equals pan and all that, and beginning equals the end. And then he says richer equals poorer and priest equals aura. And I wonder if that's a dig on Richard.
We move on. A couple more albums here. So we are leaving 1992, and we are going to head over to 1994. This is Sometime Anywhere album. This is kind of the Steve and Marty show, if you will. This is the album that, again, I feel like is divisive. You either love it, or just don't really care for it. It's dark. It's got great electronic work going there, and atmospheric. And so, yeah, Maria, what was your silver medal track from Sometime Anywhere?
Yeah, this admittedly isn't one of my favorite albums, but mine is Leave Your Clothes On. It's the title is just something that's just it doesn't sound like a title of a church song.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Matteo, how do you feel about this?
I like it. So this is a weird album. The first song, Day of the Dead, is another raga. It's a 7-minute. Like, this is the standard they've set now, right? So we know, even starting with Destination, which isn't a long track, but it's kind of those travel tracks. So you mentioned Aura, which I saw them open up during I was just looking it up. It was during the Hologram of Baal tour in '98.
Yeah.
They came
Yes,
through it. And then the next song was Myrrh, and it was awesome. Then the next song was an interlude. So it was like, wow, like I didn't know what they were going to play, but they had a joy of playing together. The guitarists were back together. Tim was comfortable in his seat as well, and they just rocked our faces off. It was awesome. But I would say, minus Time Being, I'm going to go left field here because it was really on Somewhere Else, which was the companion to Sometime Anywhere. But it also is a fun fact. It's Steve Kilby's blog name. It's Time Being. And then later on, Marty wrote, the further adventures of a Time Being on the Magician album. So I just like I like when they reflect back, or they have that continuity between sometimes albums or songs, and just, listening to how they piece that together in sort of their own mythology, I guess.
Yes. And that second disc, which when it was released, it's got some really good stuff on there.
There's a song, talk about Richard and give him props again, Drought, which was recorded in '87 during an Amsterdam, I think it was a sound check. Like, that percussive work in there is some of his best work, and it's a B-side, 10 years later, almost. Like, what? There's so much music going on. That's where we were talking about earlier, where you find, like, you find them later on, and then they pull you back in.
Working off each other. So, drinking a bar down in Leap Motel, I get involved with a prisoner. She's got a skull like a seraphim. I figure she is a messenger. She's at the heart of the festival. This is, again, another first track. This is Day of the Dead. I just love that track. I love the drum work on there. I love the bass work. And I keep repeating myself, but I got to go back to Steve's lyrics. So, yeah, I think this album, like Priest Equals Aura, very different, but it is moody. It is very heavy. It's dense. It's thick. It doesn't feel very airy to me. I mean, they do have a couple pop songs on there, but this is like, no, we're going to test your patience. And yeah, I think it's a very solid church album. All righty. Gold medal track. Take it away.
I'm going to say The Myths You Made. That's another Marty track or vocal. Yeah, like you were saying, it's more, this is very like a pop kind of thing, but this one is a little, I like the vocals are strong, the harmonies are nice. The beat is kind of like a little slow, which is kind of, I kind of like that. Yeah.
Great. He's smiling.
Well, this is an interesting pick, I think. So we're doing gold here, and I love the single, and it's one of those weird things where Two Places at Once is 7 minutes and some change, but yet they pare it down into like a single, like 4. It's about 4 minutes or so. I think there's even a 3:43 mix or something, but like it works on both those levels for me. And I love that it's a duet. I like singer-songwriters that share the mic. It's both of them together, and I just think it's very similar to Jack Frost, which I mentioned earlier. Steve's played with Grant McClendon from the Go-Betweens. He's also played with Frank Kearns from Cactus World News, two of my all-time favorite bands. And then Marty goes on to play with All About Eve, one of my other all-time favorite bands. I liked them when they were folk, and he turned them into a psychedelic, with Ultraviolet, and Touched by Jesus was a pop record. But like their B-sides, even, they have some instrumental B-sides, and it's like, this is Marty. And I just love that the members of the church have played with all of these other bands that are my favorites, and they've sprinkled their chemistry across different genres and bands.
I had them reversed. I apologize. So my actual gold medal track was Day of the Dead, but my silver medal was Angelica. And that, to me, I believe Marty did the vocals on that one. That is just, man, that just comes at you and just chokes you. I've got a verbal caress. I've got it here in my mouth, and it's here for you, and I'll share it. My tongue is wet. This verbal caress is going to get wet. I think this song fits nowhere else in the canon of their work. And it's just, I don't imagine they ever play it live back in that time, but God, it just pounds you over the head, and it's heavy. So yeah, that was my silver medal, Angelica, and my gold medal was Day of the Dead. We go from 1994 to 1996. I just hit college here at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. This is Magician Among the Spirits. For better or for worse, I feel as though this is the album that many have a hard time with, and I can see why. I can totally understand it. It's kind of suffocating in its sound. With the exception of one song, Come Down, there are no hit songs. It's not accessible. Again, it's moody fucker number 2 for me. And I don't know how the band feels about it, but there's a lot going on. So Maria, Magician Among the Spirits, what is your silver medal track?
It's funny that you mentioned you were starting, you're in college. I turned 30 that year, 1996. It's like 2 different eras of life. But I picked Grandiose, the instrumental. I like the guitar work. It's just a nice track. It's a 5-minute, 20-second track.
Maria, can you do your gold as well? Because I have a feeling we have the same 2 songs, but I think we're in reverse order, perhaps.
Okay. Well, I can tell you my gold is Won't Let You Sleep.
Okay. That's a good one, too. That was on the re-release. So they tried this album twice. I don't know if you knew that. The first one was 10 tracks, and then the second one, they had a couple singles with the B-sides with Peter and Marty's.
Oh, okay.
And then they changed the sequence in there and tried again, and didn't work out either time. But I bought both albums because I was just intrigued, because I wanted to know. I'm really interested in track listings and sequences and things like that, and which songs don't make the album are B-sides and which songs do. So I was not correct, but I will tell you that. So my gold medal, just to get there, is Grandoise as well, Grandoise, or however you pronounce it. I think it is amazing, epic Pink Floydian majesty. I think it really. I don't know if it was Marty working with Gilmer in the studio for Touched by Jesus by All About Eve that inspired him, or if it was just his love of 70s rock. But to me, with the violin and everything else, amazing. Yeah. But that's gold for me. My silver would be Marty's song on the album, which is a further, what is it? The further adventures of the time being, because I picked Time Being on the last album, so I just love that continuity between the 2. And I love the lyrics. I think it's very poetic, and I think it's very exploratory. It takes you on a journey through history. And I was surprised that Marty wrote it, because that's usually Steve's vein of writing.
So yesterday I was at a record store. I'm going to get to my picks and make the connection. When you're at a record store or you're looking for a CD or vinyl and you're like, oh my God, finally. So I found 2 records. I could have gotten them online, but I've always wanted to find them. And that was, they finally released Sinead O'Connor's Universal Mother from 1994. Finally released it. And then they finally released last year Chris Isaak's San Francisco Days that I'd been looking for years and years. And they released it, and I found those 2. And my point is, I hope one day this gets released on vinyl. And I'm glad I have a CD player in my car because it sounds delicious. My silver medal track, again, it's the first song, is Welcome.
So good.
So good. That bass line with the chorus, them coming together like that. It's got that killer groove. Never saw them for this tour. I don't even actually know if they even toured for this album.
No, either.
I don't think they did.
Yeah, I don't think
and
so.
Then my gold medal track, Further Adventures of the Time Being.
Okay.
Yeah, it's again going back to Marty. I do. Is it a complete album? Is it completely cohesive? No, it's not. Does it meander a little bit? Sure, but even in their meanderings, I still find it interesting. I'm not pushing through the tracks or anything, and I really listened to it attentively yesterday, and I do really appreciate this album. So yeah, it is. It's got some good stuff. It's one of those albums you just have to be patient with, and you're going to get rewarded.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that is going to wrap up our part 1 of this conversation. And any closing thoughts? I'm going to give you the chance. Maria, do you have any closing thoughts on anything that we discussed or anything you want to share?
In the background here is a print I did. Marty Wilson Piper. I did it in art school. I'm not gonna take it down, but it's a etching.
Nice.
It's him. I title it "Melody of the Rain." It's him in a. I'll take that.
Yeah.
In a river or something, and play guitar. But anyway, I just noticed it because I saw your background with the Heyday album. Anyway, yeah, I read somewhere that they got in the progressive stage 10 years in to the more of the progressive stage. So I guess early 90s or whatever. But yeah, going from 81 to this one it's quite a journey. I mean, there's so many different styles and stuff, I think. And they're one of the most prolific bands around. I feel like they're always churning out stuff. And I'm just really glad I discovered them just by chance, because they opened for Echo and the Bunnymen.
Yeah.
And I think, they're among, the bands I had the most, albums from, because they have so many, but just really good stuff.
Matteo, closing words?
Yeah, I think we covered about 18 years in a little over an hour, so I think that's pretty good. There's 25 more years after that, so we didn't even hit the halfway point, which is remarkable. Think about all the output they've had since. And again, as I mentioned, all their side projects. I mean, you're talking about Bruce Springsteen level kinds of, songwriting, which is, they have thousands of songs probably, really, with all that, with everything, their solo as well as their band output. I just, I think sometimes they were threading together a career Sometime Anywhere, right? I mean, it was really, hey, we got one more record in the contract. we got two guys left. What can we do? And yet they still managed to create some magic, which I think is just fantastic, right? And then, you know, I think there was some reformation or whatever it was called, right? Where Peter came back in the fold. Tim was in the mix. Tim started with the Jack Frost project with Steve and Grant McLennan. So like there's separation and then there's coming back together. And like I said, I think the big key for me and talking to you guys, we have a lot of the same favorites, and they're not all singles, right? They're not all the ones that the record company said you should put this one out. I think that's the great testament to their prowess and their power to impact lives. Because, you know, we met through online, and yet we have a lot of similar tastes from a career of an artist. I mean, that's incredible.
Beautifully said from the two of you, and this has been a real pleasure. I have a lot of these events lined up, and they're all so radically different. And I love preparing for them. And in the preparation for this, it obviously takes me back to moments of my life. But I knew that speaking with you two, I was going to be learning and really being educated while being entertained. And so I want to thank you for bringing all those little gifts to the conversation. I'm hoping we can do part 2 in 2024, and who knows, by that time they'll release 2 more albums. But I would love to talk about Hologram of Ball, and of course after everything now, this and Forget Yourself, and then Uninvited, Like the Clouds, all this other stuff. Their second career, if you want, or maybe their third, depends how you look at it.